Jim, nice to see you.
Great to see you, Bob.
We just met a few minutes ago, so I feel like we're on a bit of a blind date for the audience here today, but I think we'll make it work. So, Jim, as they said, Associate Vice President of Nationwide, and you are tasked with the implementation, strategy, execution, and measurement of the performance of a pretty broad portfolio of partnerships that you have, not just in the NFL, but even like the Columbus Zoo, for instance.
a little bit of everything. I've been with Nationwide almost 20 years. Great company. Leading our sports marketing group, which we've touched a little bit of everything from golf to NFL to minor league baseball to professional women's soccer, and bringing those different relationships to life for our business to drive results. So excited to be out here in Phoenix and all the festivities around Super Bowl.
So you work with a couple up and coming talent, a kid by the name of Peyton Manning who's trying to make it in this business.
I think he's got a good shot. He's been a great brand partner for the last 9 years, which time's flown by, and a lot of really great creative with the jingle and all that he's brought to the company and our appearances, and his Walter Payton Man of the Year pedigree and all that he is with Omaha Productions, and what he's done kind of post-career has been pretty interesting as well.
So before we get into things, I was telling Jim when we first talked that I listen to Pandora, Spotify in the background when I work all the time, and Her I don't know how you pronounce her name. Literally, her tune is embedded with Nationwide in my head on the commercials because it's on the loop. So I mean that is some strong branding.
Those 7 notes are our biggest asset as a company, and Nationwide is on your side. And it's been fun to bring that to life through our different sponsorship relationships, through Peyton, through Brad Paisley, and the most recent campaigns that we have with her. So it's always a great way people connect to it. I walk by in a Nationwide polo in the airport, and people jingle back to you. So it's a fun tagline to have.
So, you're here this week because of the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, one of the most, I think, fantastic and impactful partnerships that the NFL does. Incredibly altruistic in terms of the impact that it has. And in the research to discuss with you today, I had stumbled upon the Philadelphia Eagles promoting Brandon Graham's video, which, for any of you who have not seen this, the Eagles surprised him by bringing him really up onto a stage like this at the facility, and they brought in all of these people over the years that he's impacted individually with the efforts that he's made. And if you ever have a negative thought about an athlete, watch this video, because it had me in tears with the impact that he had on each of these individuals. It was an amazing thing to see. Talk a little bit about what the Walter Payton Award means to Nationwide, why it was a part of your strategy, and also maybe some of the ancillary benefits of the partnership that maybe many of us don't know about.
Yeah, we've been a presenting sponsor and the first sponsor of the award for the last 9 years. And for those that don't know, it rewards a player for what they do on the field at a high level, but more importantly, their focus in the community and where they live and work. And the family has embraced Nationwide's involvement. The league has embraced our efforts to really elevate it. A few years ago, we had actually an event last night with Kurt Warner, and he won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award in 2000. He said it was, in a side conference room. They had 20 people surrounding him. He gave, a few remarks, and that was it. Well, fast forward to tonight. That's going to be the last award of NFL honors in front of a sold-out, theater. Primetime players have kind of promoted it as the most important award in the league, and Nationwide gets to be brought along as the brand that helps shine a light on the great work that these guys are doing. It's allowed us to really connect every season with 32 nominees. Each team puts a player up, nominates them. We're in the process to help narrow that down, which is always a really difficult exercise to get that one Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year winner that will be walked out on stage tonight. And with that 32 players, just for us to be associated with the best of the NFL, it's an incredible filter. Appearances and using talent has been a really good part of our overall sports marketing approach. Peyton, obviously, previously Dale Jr., before that in the NASCAR space, but to have these 32 men that are so focused on doing good, being world-class athletes, Hall of Famers, but really wanting to make a positive impact in people's lives. And it's just such a great fit for our brand. We're a company that wants to be more than a business. We want to do more than just cut a check. We put the time, the energy, and resources in to make communities better that we live and work in, and that has just been a really good connection to this platform.
And one of the few sort of partnerships that everybody's rooting for everybody. It's very hard to sort of root against somebody who's being nominated for an award like that. And I think we're in the business of tracking sponsorships, partnerships, all of the details of those. And I think I was telling Jim, one of the most challenging parts of that early on was everyone's promoting nationwide. And are these sponsorships that are driven, or these sort of just ancillary benefits of a league-wide agreement that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, sort of the scope and exposure that gets within that. Talk a little bit about beyond the league. You had partnerships with, I think, all 4 of the final teams in the NFL this year, and oftentimes people think about sort of the signage and the marketing benefits that everybody can kind of see within these partnerships. But talk a little bit about Nationwide's approach with these partnerships, because I think it's a little bit different from your typical sponsor and sort of the ecosystem that you guys touch.
Yeah, part of it is just timing too. We wanted to make it more than just tonight and make it a season-long integration and create content in the spring and the off-season, do chats with our team nominees, with our sales teams and others, do something in the draft, and we do a first-round integration that we bring the platform and our former winner out there. We bring them to Columbus to celebrate with our associates. So we've tried to make it first year round, and then part of that is team activation and working. Right now we have 16 team partnerships. The final 4 we all have a relationship with, the Chiefs and the Eagles. We've had a multi-year partnerships with, but they really help us bring the platform to life. Those fan bases want to connect with their local nominee, and so Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs and Chief Kingdom, we did a whole charity challenge promotion, that extra donation, and he won that with I think over 1 million mentions in social media tied to this program. We try to raise additional money. Kyle Rudolph, a former Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, has a company, All True, that we did a fundraising campaign that raised over $300,000 for these players' causes. So we're trying to do different things each year to continue to elevate the content. We worked with Omaha Productions and Peyton's group to do the Brandon Graham video. We did a Cameron Hayward video. We did a Dak Prescott video, just to talk about the people that they've impacted through these really incredible efforts that they do off the field, but just to continue to shine the appropriate light on really the great work that's being done.
I love how there's like this groundswell where you're almost like leveraging the players to help sort of innovate and kind of create these sort of new environments, like the All True partnership that you guys launched this year. A lot of people aren't aware that Nationwide has about 90% of their business sort of comes through intermediary partners. So outside of sort of the consumer facing, there's a tremendous sort of impact that those partners have. Very, very competitive space. The NFL this year had 29 unique brands just in the property and casualty insurance space that were either buying sponsorships or media. State of Ohio, it's about 20 different brands that we had seen in the space. So we know it's very competitive. And when you get to these people that have such sway on the business, ultra competitive, right? Not just, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl, but how does Nationwide think about sort of competing in that space and sort of creating these more impactful ways to reach these partners?
Yeah, access matters. And, what we have access to for Super Bowl, for instance, or the Memorial Golf Tournament in Columbus with Jack Nicklaus and others, it is a differentiator, and that's what we hear from our business partners. Working with on the insurance side, or, our financial professionals that we're spending time with, we also want to have a thread of connectivity to this event. So Walter Payton Man of the Year has given, us that opportunity. We have, our top 30 folks in town for for dinner last night with Kurt Warner and Andrew Whitworth, and they get to hear, the impact that Nationwide's making to elevate, these stories to, what we do in the community, and it has connectivity. We, do a big outing, in Columbus in the summer and bring these players back. And so you have at least a little more story to it, connection, the Peyton, leveraging him in key opportunities with these folks that, again, may have gone to the Masters 5 times, but, they haven't gone to the Masters and, spent the evening, with Peyton or something on that front. So, the creativity and the premier experiences, we're trying to do more of that where we can, in this intermediate model that we have on the insurance side and really on the financial side.
And, a few years ago, obviously COVID completely disrupted that sort of model to be able to do these sorts of things. And I'm sure coming out of that, there were a lot of sort of build-arounds to sort of solve for that. Are there any things that you guys have taken over the last couple of years from a sort of an innovation standpoint that still sticks today as it relates to sort of that B2B strategy?
Yeah, we've players' schedules, especially active athletes. It's always really challenging to work with them in the off season and others. So we've taken part of our team sponsorship activation. Some of it's during training camp, some of it's seats and suites. But we also have done some virtual experiences in Q1, which there's not a lot of football going on, but we get that nominee, we get our kickoff meeting with 30, 50 of our top guests virtually, and have a little Q&A and send a gift after the fact. We just had Peyton pop into a virtual kickoff of our all-star top 25 agents on Tuesday. So coming out of the Pro Bowl, he was able to talk about his all-star Pro Bowl experience as a player and now coach, and connect it to this audience in a virtual environment that we just wouldn't do a few years ago. And same with the nominees. We got all 32 nominees and Commissioner Goodell and our CMO and a few others to get on a call to talk about the platform, to hear from the Peyton family, and bring everybody in a virtual way. So we've tried to leverage that talent, with in big events where we can. Our national sales meeting has been virtual, and we've pivoted a few of those other events that way. That being said, in person is back in full force, and we're doing hundreds of events where we bring people together as well.
So I said to Jim before this that I hope he takes notes, because this is going to be an awesome book one day for his grandkids to read about sort of the experiences that he's involved in. And while these are like incredibly cool things that take place, obviously at the end of the day, there has to be some sort of measurement of the impact against these things. And obviously you're being tasked with that sort of performance measurement. How's that sort of evolved for you and Nationwide as you look at sort of measuring the impact of these things?
Yeah, I always say it's a lot of art and hopefully a little more science, behind it, and the data and analytics and what we're doing. And we track brand and brand health and consideration and impressions, PR, from this week that we do, and all the digital and social metrics that you have. But we also are working really hard to drive real business from these partnerships, whether it's our team relationships that we have, whether it's the impact of the lift analysis that those that we entertain. What additional business are we doing with them? With the consolidation of the insurance world, these bigger brokers and dealers that we're working with in the room, have a much greater influence in our profitability. So those quality moments that we can spend with them, position them with our leaders, give them a really good understanding of who Nationwide is and where we're going in this environment is, a really good way for us to track the successes, both the direct and the indirect, that we're, trying to weave and tell that full story of what the return on any investment is.
Now, everybody, even yesterday talking about NIL and influencers and endorsements, I think Nationwide is like one of the OG sort of influencer people. I didn't realize this, but you guys do over 100 talent appearances on a yearly basis. Talk a little bit about how you guys approach sort of talent identification, sort of like what's the right fit for your environment, your brand, and sort of how you basically how do you optimize these partnerships that you have with each of these individuals?
Yeah, in a relatively low interest category of insurance and financial services, again, we felt that talent has been a really good way to connect with the audience, and whether that's creatively back in, we started in the NASCAR days with Dale Earnhardt Jr., the most popular driver in that sport, but we also had access to many other drivers in the developmental series that we sponsored, the NASCAR Nationwide Series. So using them promotionally in events, in actual, television 30-second spots, just allowed us to kind of learn and really then apply to what we did with Peyton, and then the Walter Payton Man of the Year, and continue to try to use the talent that has to be a good fit for our brand and our company and all the process and the risk that, we're a 100-year-old brand that, we're pretty conservative, and we want to make sure we have talent that's going to really represent us well. And so that exercise is really, important with our legal team and social team and everybody else to make sure we get the right individuals. But when we do, they connect with our audience so well. The content that we're able to create is always our highest performing that we're pushing out there. So it's a lot of events and conferences, but also those content opportunities that we can drive our social engagement as well.
And they're a lot more savvy than they were maybe 5-10 years ago, these athletes, in terms of what they can do. And we were talking about Andrew Whitworth, like how well-spoken, how good he is with content, that we haven't maybe seen as much of that over in the past. Where do you see the industry going in that regard? And what are you excited about related to working with athletes in the future?
Yeah, I think it is. Peyton aside, because his social footprint is not huge right now than Omaha Productions, but I think the ability to work with a player, connect with their fans in a direct manner, and again, want to do it in the right, authentic way. If they have a shared passion that we do as an organization, that always makes it so much stronger. But yeah, the NIL is interesting as people are going younger and younger with those athletes. I think we've stayed out of the college space right now, just again the risk-averse insurance company that we are, and putting your brand in the hands of a 19-year-old, there's some challenges with that. But I think it will still find creative ways to use, whether it's in the music space. We do a lot in our national brand advertising campaigns with the Leslie Odom Jr. and her and Brad Paisley and other talent there, and then all of our sponsorships. It's just really important, from Darlington Nagby with the Columbus Crew on the MLS side, or Darian Jenkins on the National Women's Soccer League, and our different relationships that we have there. Talent just is a great way to really connect with those audiences.
So everybody's talked this year about women's sports, and no sport has probably had as much exposure this year as the NWSL, and Nationwide decided to get involved with the NWSL. I'd love for you to kind of share a little bit about why you tied into the NWSL, and I think also what's really interesting is some of the ways in which you're impacting the athletes within the NWSL.
Yeah, we're entering our third season. It's been a crazy journey. Obviously, they've had some challenges. I think they're through that. They've got great leadership in place with Jessica Berman, and I think their growth potential is incredibly high. And we wanted to get in early to support and grow the women's soccer in the United States. And we've had a few previous relationship with Alex Morgan and did some things around the World Cup a few years ago, and we're just trying to find the right place to really get involved, and just saw an opportunity to help the league and grow and develop. They didn't have a ton of resources at the time. It's funny, us and Ally jumped in at the same time. Andrea Brimmer has been a longtime partner in other sponsorships with Nationwide, so it was great to see what their impact and what they were doing. We could do the same. We had a community impact platform. We worked with all 12 teams, 12 brand ambassadors, 12 causes. Just try to provide the league resources maybe that they didn't have. We're a Fortune 80 company that, has, done a lot and provided, a lot of other counsel and products and services for them as well, where we could. Wanted to help them elevate the championship weekend last year in DC, and, made some incremental investments. So it's a little bit unique, compared to, the NFL and obviously a well-established league. I think what we loved about the NWSL is, part of their pitch was, we've only been in existence, at the time, 7 years. We don't have 40 years of reasons to say no. So they're willing to try things with us and test and learn. And, the players have been so receptive to the support that we do. We did a 2-week externship that came out of a conversation with a handful of players last year that, they're highly Stanford, Duke educated, that, they're playing for $30,000 a year, and, they'll get out of their league in 4 or 5 years and not really develop their career much. So, we brought 4 really talented athletes to Columbus for a 2-week immersion to learn what it would be like to work at a Fortune 100 company, try to understand the different areas they could go, and, what that next step could look like once they do retire from the league. So that's something that we'll bring back again, and just trying to do more than, just hang up a banner or put a field level sign up and really positively impact the players, the league, and the sport as a whole.
Yeah, the model of we're going to build a league or a team, and we're just going to get sponsors to sort of support that has really changed. To these leagues and teams are looking to their marketing partners to help them enhance the fan experience or the player experience as well. And there's no shortage of new leagues. I was in a debate with somebody yesterday about paddleball versus pickleball, and there's the metaverse and there's esports teams, et cetera, that's going on. It seems like a ripe opportunity for brands to, not have to be forced to look at maybe the traditional sports or sponsorship avenues, but looking at some places that are maybe up and coming where they can play a larger part in the overall exposure. Is that something that you guys think about in terms of your growth and expansion in the future?
Yeah, I think we're always looking. We're always pitched, with new startup leagues and women's volleyball and softball and the pickleball. There's a franchise in Columbus, but yeah. So I think those are all things we all want to pay attention to. You still got to track back to there's the power of the NFL and why we're involved in what we do there, and the scale and the reach. It is a different level. So it's just kind of all about your objectives and what you're trying to accomplish and do. And I think to have a well-rounded portfolio is really important, and we have different reasons why we're involved at each level, from a brand building to community to business, and so each of those relationships we dial up or dial down depending on the priorities. But it is exciting to see a time where there are a lot of upstart opportunities that if you have some different passion points from an audience that we want to connect with, there's ripe opportunities to do it for not a ton of investment at this point.
Do you find that within your portfolio, because you're working with, obviously, at the NFL league level, but then you're also working on very localized sponsorships as well, or sort of smaller leagues, associations, MILB, and a tremendous amount of teams that you sort of have exposure to. Do you find that having those sort of extremes on both sides sort of enhances the other side, because you're learning or using these as sort of like a testing ground for marketing? Yeah,
I think it's definitely a learning, and we're always trying to have the incremental improvement each year and applying those other learnings to other areas. It gives us a wide range of opportunities, because our breadth and depth as a company is a big strength, and we're known as, like the previous speaker, Rocket's known as a mortgage company. We're known as a insurance, property casualty insurance company, but we're also have a wide range of financial services. Number one 401k provider, number one pet insurer, number one farm insurer. So all these are the things that we do. That those different audiences have different interests. So we want to make sure we can serve our business with the tools that we have in the best way, and continually to optimize that portfolio.
Which I can't remember the MLB team, but I saw the signage this year for pet insurance for the first time. That really stood out.
Yeah, probably the Angels, if you were out in an Angels game, yeah.
Yeah. I would think the Padres would be a good target given, the brand synergy there.
Yeah.
But, well, I know you got a big night tonight. You've got the NFL awards you got to get suited up for. But it's been a pleasure to have you here, Jim, and thanks so much for sharing your insights today.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Bob.
You got it.
Awesome.